Hello and welcome back to the Health All Day channel. Hello, nice to see you here. Let's get straight to the point, because today's topic is one of those we hear a lot about, but don't always really understand. We always want to improve our health, gain a little muscle mass, get stronger. Who doesn't? And there's so much information out there that it's hard to know what really works. But what if I told you that you might have been looking the wrong way all along? Well, there's a food that many people ignore, but which is incredible for those who want to gain muscle mass in a healthy way. No. Calm down. I'm not talking about what you think. I'll explain it to you in a moment. But first, let's think for a moment about what really makes a difference to our bodies, shall we? You know that thing we've always heard? That to build muscle you have to eat meat, animal protein? That's right. We're going to see that the story isn't quite like that. Got it? So let's get to it, shall we? Everyone's heard of protein, right? And of course, when we talk about gaining muscle mass, comes to mind protein, protein, protein. It's almost like magic. But the truth is that it's a little more complex than just thinking, oh, I'll just eat protein and that'll be that. Protein in our bodies is like a building brick. It's there to build muscles, regenerate tissues, do the heavy lifting, you know? Without it, we can't build anything. But here's the kicker. Not just any type of protein will do the job. Body needs the right parts. And at the end of the day, what really matters to it are the amino acids, which are the little pieces that make up all this protein. And that's where the big question comes in. Are you giving your body the right kind of bricks to build what it needs? Look, I'm going to tell you an important detail about this now. Let me tell you something that may seem a little counterintuitive, but hold on and it'll make sense. We grow up hearing that meat is synonymous with protein, that to be strong, you have to eat meat. Sounds simple? But the reality is a little different. When we think of meat, we immediately think of that juicy steak, that barbecue, and the feeling that we're eating something powerful for the body. But meat, especially red meat, is not the perfect source of protein that everyone believes. It does, of course, have protein. I'm not gonna lie. But the problem lies in the way our bodies deal with this protein. You know that analogy I made about bricks? Well, meat is like a wall that's already been built, all filled with cement, painted and everything. What about our body? It has to demolish this whole wall in order to make use of the bricks that are really useful. The digestive system has to spend a lot of energy breaking down the meat proteins into amino acids that we can use. So, while you're thinking you're just eating top-notch protein, your body is actually there, sweating to break it down. Now, imagine that, as well as being a time-consuming process, this can generate waste that the body doesn't need. And then, problems begin. Toxins, saturated fat, a lot of stuff you didn't even ask for, but which came with that piece of meat. And the more meat you eat, the harder your body has to work to deal with the excess. Oh, and there's one more thing that not many people think about. What are the animals we eat eating? Because, think about it, they're not absorbing protein from the air. They're eating plants, and it's from plants that they get the nutrients that will form their meat. So if we can go straight to the source, why go through this intermediary, which only complicates the process? And if you think you can only gain muscle by eating meat, I'm going to show you what really makes the difference. I'm going to get into a very important subject, which frankly most people don't even realize. The bioavailability of amino acid. Perhaps the name sounds a bit technical, but I'll explain it to you in a simple way. This is basically how much your body can absorb and use of the nutrients you're eating. There's no point in eating lots of protein if your body can't make the most of it, right? There's also an important detail. The body can't absorb 100% of the protein in meat. Some of it is simply lost in the process. Or worse, it ends up generating substances that aren't exactly beneficial. And the most interesting thing is that when we eat plant-based foods, this absorption is much more efficient. It's as if you were giving your body a ready-made digestive system without needing all that extra labor. Digestion is lighter, the body gets much more out of it, and what's more, you get a whole host of other nutrients that come with the packet. Now, if bioavailability is what really matters, what should we be eating more of? Let's go. We've already talked about protein, amino acids, and how the body deals with them. Now, I'm going to tell you why plant foods are so effective when it comes to real nutrition. And look, it's no wonder that vegetables have been getting so much attention recently. First of all, think about it. Plant foods are practically a complete package for our bodies. Not only do they offer amino acids, which are the building blocks we need to build muscle and regenerate cells, but they also provide fiber, vitamins, antioxidants, the list is long. And all this helps the body to function in a more balanced way. While meat only gives you protein, vegetables give you much more with less effort. It's almost as if the body is saying, oh, this is what I need. It's all here. And that's it. Goes there and uses almost everything. Remember that bioavailability thing we talked about? Vegetables come into play here. The way the body is able to absorb and use nutrients from vegetables is much faster and more efficient than when you eat, I don't know, a piece of meat. What's more, vegetables don't come with that excess baggage that meat does, like saturated fats and toxins. And best of all, they're light. You don't leave the table feeling full, heavy, you know? On the contrary, the body works more calmly. Now think about it. If nature is already giving you all this in such a direct and practical way, isn't it worth paying more attention to what you're putting on your plate? Now imagine something that may never have crossed your mind, but which makes total sense when you think about it. Gorillas. Have you ever noticed how big these guys are? They're huge, strong, and they're not lifting weights or eating meat. And it's not just gorillas, okay? You can think of horses, elephants, even oxen. All these animals are herbivores. In other words, they basically live on plants. But look at their size and strength. You might be asking yourself, well, how do they get so big and strong eating only leaves? And that's exactly the point. These animals are showing us in practice that it is possible, and in fact very efficient, to gain muscle mass and be strong with a plant-based diet. Gorillas, for example, spend all day chewing leaves, fruit, simple things. And the result? They have muscles that would make any bodybuilder envious. Now let's think together. If a gorilla can build up all that mass by eating plants, why do we think we need meat to get strong? There seems to be something wrong there, don't you think? What's more, not only do these animals get the amino acids they need directly from plants, but their bodies process them very efficiently. You don't have to spend energy breaking down animal protein. Their bodies, and ours too for that matter, are already programmed to get the best out of plants. But then you might be thinking, okay, but what does that have to do with me? Now we need to talk about one of the biggest myths going around: milk and meat. How many times have you heard that you have to drink milk to grow up strong and healthy? Or that meat is essential for building muscle? Well, these ideas are so ingrained that we don't even question them anymore. But I'll tell you, the truth is quite different. First, milk. Ever since we were little, we grow up with the idea that milk is the greatest source of calcium, that it will strengthen our bones and blah blah blah. But what a lot of people don't know is that our bodies, especially as adults, don't process milk very well. Casein, the milk protein, is difficult to break down. Body ends up spending an absurd amount of energy trying to digest it, and in the end, much of it isn't even used. What's more, for many people, this turns into inflammation, discomfort, and even allergies. You know that bloated feeling? Well, that's the culprit. Now about the meat. Well, we've already talked about how the body has to disassemble the meat protein to make the most of the amino acid. Remember? But there's one more important point. Meat comes loaded with saturated fats, toxins, things that the body doesn't need, and frankly would be better avoided. But then again, we've been taught that meat is strength and we go on believing it. The curious thing is that the more we research and discover, the more we realize that what has been sold as essential for so long may not be so good. Calm down. I'll explain what really makes a difference when it comes to nutrition. But remember when I talked about how hard the body has to work to break down meat protein and turn it into amino acids? Well, what if I told you that there are foods that already deliver these amino acids to you on a tray, ready for your body to use? That's right. No extra work, no wasted energy. It sounds too good to be true. These plant foods are real efficiency machines. They are like the fast track of nutrients. When you eat these foods, your body doesn't have to waste time breaking down large molecules like meat does. It already receives what it needs in the purest form, ready to be used. That's a huge advantage that often goes unnoticed in our daily lives. Now, I know you might be thinking, yeah, but how does that work in everyday life? That's the beauty of it. On a day-to-day basis, it's much easier than it sounds. You don't need any major changes or complications. Wanna see? Think about adding more foods like beans, lentils, quinoa, those simple little things, you know? As well as providing the amino acids your body needs, they also help balance digestion, improve bowel function, and, what's more, provide more stable energy. All this without the feeling of heaviness we get after a meal full of meat. And so, if we can have all this in one meal, why keep insisting on foods that are so heavy and difficult to process, right? I'm not telling you to cut everything out at once. No one needs to make drastic changes. But how about starting to think of ways to include these foods in your daily routine? Little by little, difference will start to show. And then, after all this talk, there's that question in the air, right? What do I do now? Look, the truth is that it doesn't have to be anything drastic. Nobody has to wake up tomorrow and change everything at once. The secret is to start small, with changes that fit into your daily life. That's right. You can, for example, replace a meat meal with a vegetable-rich option. Small choices, you know? Things that, over time, make a huge difference. And the great thing is that the more you experiment, the more you discover how good you feel. The lightness after a meal, the energy that lasts longer during the day. All this is a sign that your body is reacting positively. It doesn't have to become a food revolution. The idea is to incorporate these foods little by little and see how they impact your life. Remember what we talked about? It's not about cutting down or depriving yourself. It's about adding more of what's good for you. So if you want to start, how about today? Try a new dish. Combination of vegetables you've never tried. You'll see how your body thanks you. Wait a minute, don't leave just yet. If this content has given you a boost in your knowledge, just imagine what else we have in store. If you liked this video, it doesn't hurt to leave a like, subscribe, activate the little bell, and comment. Tell us what you thought, which part surprised you the most, or even your questions. It's quick and really helps the channel grow. We love chatting with you. Oh, and don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. There's content on healthy eating, exercise, mental health. It's a complete package to keep you up to date. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. See you next time.